we've got two presenters that we think you're really going to enjoy. If you notice in front of you, you've got some announcement sheet that has an area for you to write down questions as the presenters are going through. Global Entrepreneur Week is coming up. It is the week of the November 17th through the 24th. We are working diligently to have several things going that week if you want to read through that. The two big things I want to bring out, there is a Build, Go, and Grow Regional Entrepreneur Conference on the 14th and 15th, and if you're interested in that, it tells you where to go and sign up for that. There's also an entrepreneur luncheon where we will be honoring all the entrepreneurs at Hopkins County. And if you are an entrepreneur and have not signed up for that luncheon, we would love for you to be our guest. We're giving away 2 tickets per company. Additional tickets are a little bit extra money for that, but if you will go and sign up there, that event is going to be on November 18th. And we have Cameron Cushman coming in. He's in Fort Worth, Texas, formerly with Kaufman Foundation. He's going to be our speaker, and we're really excited for this event.
No,
are you just talking? Oh yeah, I'm excited too. I'm really excited.
Silent.
Cameron Cushman is where I drank my first Kool-Aid with him, so I'm entrepreneur Kool-Aid. So I'm really excited for you all to meet him. I think y'all will be really excited about it. Our first presenter today is Sherri Buchanan from Catering Creations, and my name is Ruth Ann Patchett, and I'm addicted to the big salad that she has.
Well, good morning. I'm Sherri Buchanan with Catering Creations. First of all, I would like to thank Ruth Ann and all of you involved with Million Cups, because it has become just another resource of support for myself. I find that about the time I'm having those really frustrating, challenging days, to where you think, why am I doing this? It's about the time that I get to come to A Million Cups and I hear some of the other stories and those same frustrations, but also the victories and the lessons that come out of those trials. So thank you guys. A little bit about myself and my background. I come from a long line of farmers. I was raised in a family business. My dad owned service stations and trucking companies. My glamorous job as a teenager growing up was I washed semi-tractors and then got to graduate to cars and trucks. So that was where I cut my teeth on. But I would not change that for anything. It taught me how to work, not be scared of it. And growing up in a family business, I learned very quickly that you need to treat people right. That customer literally puts the food on your table, and that you just try to go out and try to do your best every day. So fast forward, my career per se started, I started in the car business, then went into banking, moved to Lexington with a CPA firm, eventually found myself in corporate America working for a subsidiary of the 3rd largest insurance company in the world. Was one of 6 women in the sales field. The company had the company vehicle, company expense account, great benefits, made the President's Club, a 6-figure income, all those great things, and the security of corporate America, along with the frustrations of corporate America. But a friend and I, she worked in the same company, we decided, hey, we can do this ourselves. So we left that security and started our own finance and insurance company from the ground up, beating the pavement, knocking on the doors, and that was very successful as well. But as we grew, I just became more and more miserable and found really that I wasn't being true to who I was and what I stood for. So eventually I sold her my half of that company. And when this just kind of pops in my head, so I'm going to back up and interject. With A Million Cups, there's a couple of things that I have found from a lot of the presenters, 2 characteristics that stand out to me that I possess as well, and it's one, my faith. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be standing here. If it wasn't, people say, how did you get where you are? A lot of prayer, a lot of support, and that's the other thing, support. I have a huge, huge support system. My husband is my #1 advocate. So with all of that being said, wouldn't be here today without the good Lord paving the way and directing me. But to get back to my career, and so I sold my half of that company to my partner, kind of took some time off, did a lot of volunteering, working in food banks and different things around the area. And I was like, okay, well, what are you gonna do? And so I actually went back to that company that I sold my interest in and was doing some consulting work. So you might be saying, okay, well, how did catering come into all of this? And I asked myself that quite often, actually, because it's not one of those things. I didn't always love to cook. It was always all about my career and developing that. But one of the things that being in corporate America taught me so much, one of the big things was how to analyze, evaluate, develop, and propose business strategies, as well as networking and building the business, because I was out in the field, we were knocking on doors, and so you get to network and do that part of it. But one of the really fun things that I got to do in that role was we would plan different events and contests, and where we got to do event planning with a lot of major hotels, Golf House, Opryland Hotel, Titan Stadium, and different sports venues. And so I got to plan all of that, and I loved it. And catering just kind of came along. It really started when the tornado hit Madisonville. And our church did a big tornado relief, and so that kind of got me into the mass cooking, if you will. But that just kind of kept evolving over the years, and it just really got to the point to where I either needed to stop or take the leap of faith and do it the right way, get compliant with the health department and all those things. So in December of 2012, we took the leap of faith and said, okay, Lord, this is what you want us to do. You're going to bless it, you're going to make it work, and if it's not, then okay, you open another door and we'll do something else. So we moved into what used to be Dinner's Ready on Seminary Street, and that just went great, you know, with no advertising, just strictly word of mouth. A big thanks to a lot of people in this room particularly. And by the end of last year, we kind of were outgrowing our space. So we decided to take another big leap of faith, and we purchased a building, the old Casa building, might as well say it. It's across from Rispa. We totally gutted it, renovated it. The only thing I think we kept was the ceiling, literally. And so we started that renovation in May of this year. We moved in mid-August, and it's been wonderful. But kind of what we do all levels of catering, and our Facebook page just went live this past Monday, so we're just now starting to get into that social media thing. We are, at the beginning of November, we are starting the casseroles to go, dinners to go. So that's kind of in a nutshell. Here, my little timer going on, so it's good.
Questions?
I first met her during the coal rally, and she was kind enough to donate a large portion of her services. The thing that I learned about her, and I think it's kind of neat to get more of the backstory just now because I didn't know all that.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. The part that I realized about her really quickly is her food display and the quality of her food was absolutely extraordinary. And I wanted to know how you learned how to do that and how that parlayed into what you're doing as far as gaining more business. Because you gained a huge amount of immediate respect whenever I saw those displays. I'm like, oh, she's good.
Well, that's where my interest first when I said I wasn't one of those people who loved to cook all my life. Didn't. When we built our house, I put 2 ovens in it, and my family said, why are you putting 2 ovens in it? You don't use one. And but it was, I like the decorating and the planning and that part of it. Well, you can survive on that in a town like Nashville or somewhere, but you can't do that in Madisonville. So really, it was just my mother managed in the food service industry in school systems. So that's where, and I still call her to this day, go, okay, I gotta start 300 people, how much of this do I need? But, and my in-laws are big cooks and that type of thing, but it just really, I think my interest for the planning and the details and the decorating and all that part of it. When I was doing catering on the side, every time I would do something, I would go buy shaping dishes or fabric dispensers, all that equipment that makes it look really pretty, just because that's what I liked. You know, it wasn't about making the money off that job, that's just what I liked. And so really, I just believe that the good Lord just increased my desire for the cooking, because that was the way to start a business and build a business in the Madisonville area. And it just, you know, timing is everything. I just think that the timing in this area, we're still kind of trying to find our exact niche. But as far as what of my past that kind of contributed to that is just, I think, more the decorating, that part of it.
Okay, so you're making your money mostly as an event venue and catering, so inside and outside catering?
Well, we just moved to our new location where we have our own venue that we can rent out, which will hold up to 150 people. But previously, we just did catering outside of our preparation location.
Got it. So what's the plan with the new, you're doing a delivery service? Is that going to be like, I'm sitting at home and I need a meal for me and my family? Is that what that's going to be?
No, it's going to be, you can come, you pre-order a casserole or whatever the items are, and you come to our location, pick up. I believe it to give back, and that's really something, a couple of years ago, Phyllis Brown and I for the summer, and several others, fed children throughout summer, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But in the course of that, what we found was another big need is, and I'll use this diplomatically, is older people, if you will, that, you know, they don't like to cook much anymore. It's just the two of them, or you have children that are caring for their elderly parents that need just, you know, smaller meals, that type of thing. And then we really found that there's a need there as well. So, but to answer your question, we do all sorts of catering, from corporate to weddings to pretty much anything really. We do a lot of delivery lunches for different businesses, a lot of doctor's offices. So.
What is your area? I mean, it's probably, I know it's mostly Madisonville.
Primarily Madisonville. You know, we did a wedding in Union County this past Saturday. We've done some in Henderson. We got another one scheduled for Henderson. I'm originally from Henderson, so you know, there's a few ties there that we could cultivate. So really, I mean, and it's just kind of growing. You know, it's kind of wherever the demand or the business comes from. That level, within reason, if it makes sense. Like I had a drug rep yesterday, you know, I asked, will you go to Union County and do this lunch? No, because it doesn't make sense for me to drive all the way to Union County for that size of the job. But Saturday night, we went there for a large wedding, so, yes.
How many employees have you gotten?
Let's see. I have 4 plus myself, plus my husband, who gets to spend every moment he's on work there. But 4 employees consistently. And then just depending on the event as to how many people that I bring in. You know, we've done this, you know, where it's sit down, serve, catered, you know, or we're serving at their table, plating and serving it. And that takes about 17 to 20 people managing and performing that job. To, you know what, we only need 2 or 3, so it just depends.
How do you keep enough employees that you do not provide full-time employment for? How do you keep them available for you on just pick up the phone and I need 10 people tomorrow night? You know,
I have just been blessed with that, really. I mean, there's a lot of family and good friends that work in the business. Catering is hard. It's hard work. It's a lot more physical. We were loading for this wedding in Union County Saturday night. Well, you've got to load really strategically because you got to get all this stuff in there. But we've just been really fortunate to the different people that say, you know, hey, if you need help, let me know. So we just, it's me.
Going back to your expansion when you moved into the new building, did you find any difficulties with that? Like, as far as your business that you had there, did it move? You know, what kind of difficulties did you have with the expansion?
You know, we were really pretty lucky. I remember when Mark presented, he was about, you know, do your due diligence and do your homework. And before we even started negotiating the price on that property, we spent the money to have somebody come in and do an extensive inspection of that building. There wasn't hardly an inch of that building that the inspector was not in. And that was money up front that we spent, like I said, before we even started negotiating the price. But it was some of the best money I spent, because during the renovation, we really did not have any big surprises. There were a couple of little things, but really, in the big scheme of it, there was. So it was just doing your due diligence. I mean, certainly there's been challenges in just making the transition. You know, we're still trying to figure out where stuff is sometimes, but that was that planning and kind of going, okay, let me, what, and I don't care how much you plan, you're still gonna have surprises, but, so it really wasn't, it could have been a lot worse, I'll say that.
How hard was it going from a corporate environment to totally changing,
It
as far as
probably-
even with the insurance company and then going from the insurance company, that stability and?
You know, it really wasn't that hard. The bigger thing, it wasn't, I guess, if I hadn't been raised in family business, I think it would probably been a lot harder. But I'd already kind of been exposed to that. So it really, you know, it wasn't that, and I just kind of look at things, I look at situations and go, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? And I don't think I'm a pessimist in that, but it's like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? And can I handle that? And okay, then let's move forward. And because if you don't step out and take the step and take the faith, then it's...
One comment and then I guess a follow-up question to what Ruth Ann asked. I don't call what you just described being a pessimist at all. I call it being a planner, a realist, not liking surprises. You know, but a pessimist isn't going to take that leap of faith.
Right.
The follow-up question, let's say that there's somebody here in the room who did not grow up in an entrepreneurial family and has only worked for other people, other companies, whether small business or corporate America. What advice would you give them if they were contemplating going to the edge of the cliff and perhaps taking that leap of faith?
Pray. That's the first thing. You know, just plan. You know, well, and I can't remember who said it in their presentation, but, you know, when I remained consulting for 6 months when I started Catering Creation. So I was doing consulting work, traveling, and getting the catering started. So it was kind of like in my mind, in my heart, I was going all in. But the planning and the financial end of it, it was, you know, you still gotta be smart about it. And, you know, I've been involved in other businesses that weren't successful, quite frankly. And, you know, there were partners involved in that who just, it's a lot. Like I said, I grew up in it, and it's a lot of time, it's a lot of sacrifice. It was more rare in my family growing up if the phone had not rang by 4:30 in the morning. I mean, because Dad had trucks all over the country, and, you know, the load wasn't ready or one broke down, and that was just. So I do your due diligence, realize what you're getting into, talk to other people who have done it. You know, that was one thing. When I first started coming to Million Cups, and really I was talking with Kevin Cotton, who's not here today, but and my husband and I came, and I knew Kevin previously. He had done business with my husband, but we came and sat down and talked with him for a good hour and a half. Sharon Smith has been a great year for me to just bounce ideas off of and talk through those. So talk to other people who have walked it and lived it and experienced those frustrations would be a huge point, I would make. Okay.
I would just kind of like to follow up on what you just said. I think there's been a huge shift in Hopkins County with economic development.
Mm-hmm.
And there is so much knowledge for small business at the ED office now. And they're very open to small business. And I know when I first went, the college had, and I think it's a tremendous disservice that we do not have something like that here in Hopkins County right now. And so, but I think ED has stepped up, and I think the chamber has stepped up. And so I think, you know, if you had someone that was wanting to go into business, that would be one of the first things. And as Sherri said, talk to the people that have already walked in those shoes. And it may not be your same business, but it could be any small business person.
You know, because part of it, you know, whatever your business is, really, in the business plan of it all, and I'm not one of those who wrote a big business plan and all this. My bosses in corporate America got so frustrated with me because I'm not about goals and all that, and in that world, they live by that. And I just believe, you know what, you go out and do the right thing, you treat people right, you work hard, and give it all you got, and it's all gonna come out in the wash, and the money's gonna be there. And that used to drive me crazy, but, you know, when I was sitting at President's, I know, it worked for me, but anyway. But what, you know, catering for me is, although it's a huge part, it's just a part, because you still have, I mean, talk to accountants, talk to, you know, because there's so much more that goes into that, you know, taxes and IRS and all those awful fun things, but there's just so, what you do is just a portion of really the whole business scheme of things. You have all these other facets that go into it that, and that's where, you know, I just really believe God was giving me the experience from, you know, banking and working for a CPA firm and understanding all of that type of stuff to you know, that's my part of my personality, and the other part's the creative side. So it all just,
I guess the advice I would give, and it didn't seem like you faced that, but the first thing I would tell anybody is get your personal finances in order first. Don't be saddled with a lot of payments, no money in the bank,
right,
and think that you're going to go into business and make more.
No.
It doesn't happen that way.
No, it doesn't.
And that's built-in failure if you do not have the financial stability to where you can go in and you can get along for the first few weeks, few months, or whatever with no income.
Right.
Because that's more likely what's going to happen when you start a business.
Yeah.
Is at the very first, you'll have no income personally.
Right. And
if you can pay your bills, you're doing well.
Exactly, and that's where I consult, and I remained consulting for 6 months when I started this. When a friend and I left the big corporate America and started our own, we knew, you know, we had looked at it and go, okay, because that business was, if you wrote the account, they started doing business this month, they remitted that business the next month, we didn't get paid on, so they would sell it 1 month and we wouldn't see that commission for 3 months. So we knew we had to pace ourselves and have all that in order. So that's another huge thing to Mark's question.
A few weeks ago, and I don't know if it was Entrepreneur Magazine or Inc. or which one, but there was an article that talked about, I want to say the statistic was companies where the owner in a startup situation keeps that day job for some period of time, as opposed to just jumping all in immediately. They have about I think it was 1/3 better success rate. And I may be off on the statistic, but it was a significant difference. And I think you're absolutely right, Sherri. You have to be committed. You can't be keeping that day job and, you know, here's my hobby and maybe I'll turn it into a business. And yet, one way or another, like Bruce said, having your financial house in order, keeping that cash flow going so that you're not quickly strapped. And then the other piece of that is if you are raising capital, be willing, if needed, to give up a little bit more of the pie in order to go in well capitalized. And you know, I remember our first business, we wanted to keep so much of it And, you know, you don't have to have 100 no's, maybe only 90, before I got it and realized, okay, better turn loose a little bit more in order to get that equity capital.
So you've got the new building.
Mhm.
Have you already seen that, like, oh my gosh, we're gonna outgrow this?
Yes.
Wow.
Can
But
you build
that's-
on, can you make bigger?
Well, I mean, that's just going my stuff too, but, you know, it's, yeah, you know, and you know, and it's, and that's part of the entrepreneurship too, thinking, okay, what can we do next? But at the same time, wanting to, you know what, let's stay focused on where we're at, so we grow that and grow it the right way, and we have a solid foundation, because it was kind of like starting all over again at the new location, you know, so. My time out.
As a personal testimony, Sherri just recently did an event for me back in July, and of course, I wanted it to be extra special, and it was. But everybody that lived there, from people out of town, in town, or whatever, was, who did that food? Man, that food was great. So she does a fabulous job.
We just, our tagline is striving for excellence, you know, and sometimes you fall short because it's just part of it, you know, it's just gonna happen from time to time, but you have to look at that, grow from that. That's what we're doing. Thank you all.